Can't take videos.
Sorry?
You can do what take that picture, but after that's it.
Okay.
youtube.com/sound.
What's up, Legion? My name is Sal, and this is another Expedition Log. In this episode, we'll be visiting a mall steeped in vintage aesthetics, only to get kicked out in 2018, with a return visit in 2021 to serve as our penultimate trip in the 2018-2021 Cincinnati tour. As always, I hope you're all out there having a good time all the time, taking care of yourselves and beating the heat as the sweaty summer of 2024 rages on. I'd like to thank my patrons and elite explorers who've donated directly to my channel over the years. Your support has continued to keep the ExLog coals ablaze, and I can't imagine where I'd be without you, so thank you. I've been pretty busy these last few weeks, traveling around to film everything I can get my hands on within a few hours' drive, and my backlog right now is above 35 episodes deep. I have content to edit and produce through 2028. And I plan to get out on expedition a couple more times this summer to get that extended through 2030. So please stay tuned across my social media and my Discord server for updates. Links are all down below. I've been trying to get this episode filmed since 2018, when I first visited the greater Cincinnati area. Security kicked me out then and again in 2021, but ultimately I prevailed to get the footage you're about to see. So today, I'd like you all to come take a walk with me through the Towne Mall Galleria in Middletown, Ohio. But first, a word from our sponsors. Once mayor of Cincinnati from 1977 to 1978, Jerry Springer, and the 1-900-CRY hotline for getting all those unwanted, greasy emotions spilled out on the floor. Enjoy.
It's coming, and it's something we'll experience only once in a lifetime. Into this tiny box, we'll diligently pack delicate fragments of our mere existence. We'll make a time capsule, and it'll tell the world 100 years from now who we were and what Cincinnati was. We're looking at the year 2088. Join us live Monday when we send our light 100 years into the future.
Congratulations, Johnny Bench, baseball's newest Hall of Famer.
Dirty girl, you made me do those things in front of Sal. I'm never taking you out for dinner again.
What makes people all over America break down and cry like this? Call 1-900-9099-CRY and hear it for yourself. $2 for the first minute, 45 cents each additional minute. If you're under 18, ask your parents before you call.
It's just terrible how somebody can disrespect a 73-year-old. Goodbye.
Welcome to the Towne Mall Galleria in Middletown, Ohio, known until 2013 simply as Towne Mall. The footage that you're about to see in this episode spans a period of 4 years, Right now, we're approaching the mall in 2018 during my first trip to the greater Cincinnati area. After we finish up the 2018 footage, we're going to jump to footage from 2021 where I use multiple cameras and my drone, Quitecopter 1, to film this place top to bottom. The mall is striking, it's compelling, it's aesthetically beautiful, and the structure itself has been standing for nearly 50 years. But while the Towne Mall sits abandoned today, the story fascinates me. So let's jump right in to the historical narrative. The Jacobs real estate legacy began back in the 1920s in Akron, Ohio, with the birth of V.R. Jacobs' two sons, David H. and Richard E. David was born in 1921, and Richard, known as Dick by friends and family, was born a few years later on Tuesday, June 16, 1925. Dick started work young as a potato peeler at a local Swenson's drive-in fast food restaurant, and both boys would graduate from the Booktill High School in 1943. After high school, Dick joined the U.S. Army, and David joined the Navy. Both boys would serve in World War II. A few years later, when the war was over, Dick and David attended the Indiana University, graduating with business administration degrees. 5 years after David graduated from Indiana University, he and his partner Lewis W. Mead organized Mead Jacobs, a real estate property management firm. Dick would enter the partnership soon afterwards, reintroducing himself to the workforce as Richard. Their first project was the 5-story Puritas Center in Cleveland in 1954. The following year, in 1955, Richard and David Jacobs would expand their retail stronghold by forming a partnership with Dominic A. Visconsi. The Cleveland-based firm would open the Northland Mall as their first regional shopping mall 10 years later in Columbus, Ohio on August 13, 1964. The Jacobs development firm would pride themselves on their pledge to insist upon quality without compromise in design, construction, leasing, management, and promotion for their malls. Their foundational philosophy was, quote, "Genius is an aptitude for hard work," close quote. And with every mall they built, this would ring true. By this time, Middletown, Ohio was undergoing a shift in their social climate when city officials and locals alike were beginning to favor large department stores in lieu of smaller mom-and-pop shops on places like their Central Avenue. The Fair Store Company, which had been a long-standing Cincinnati area chain since the late 1800s, was in the process of being acquired by the Mercantile Stores Company by 1950. Mercantile had owned 18 McAlpin stores by 1951, and with the sale complete, all Fair Store Company locations would be rebranded to a McAlpin's masthead. This included the location in downtown Middletown, Ohio, which had been a Knott store, like Don Knotts, but not. It was converted to a McAlpin's on Monday, July 2, 1951. Over the next couple decades, smaller stores would be pushed out of the inner city areas of Middletown, Ohio, and across the United States alike. Department stores were beginning to monopolize the retail market in downtown areas throughout the country. But as the 1960s were coming to an end, traffic was only getting worse in these areas, and people wanted to get back to a more rural setting. Despite newly built department stores and a rash of company mergers, during the late 1950s, American retail developers were starting to plan for the move away from downtown shopping and into the suburbs, where people had taken refuge from the onslaught of pollution and noise. This mass exodus would be the catalyst for the United States' massive explosion of enclosed regional shopping malls through the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and all the way through the early 90s. By halftime for the 20th century, there was an incredible amount of congestion in downtown areas, with people being forced to drive to the retail anchors for their cities in the forms of large department stores. Parking was beyond difficult, and at best a grotesque misadventure, and rent was becoming a burden for the individual storefronts. The tension was really being felt locally from the shoppers, and they wanted a comfortable space to relax and breathe in, while they shopped. Such a space came in the form of America's first enclosed shopping mall on October 8, 1956, from Austrian-American architect Victor Gruen with his Southdale Center in Edina, Minnesota. Gruen designed the mall as the antithesis to what he believed to be America's vehicular-centric society, opposed to a more pedestrian travel culture that he was used to in Europe. Southdale had wide-open areas featuring a massive center court with tons of greenery and ample fenestration providing so much light. The climate-controlled interior gave shoppers a respite from the hustle of shopping downtown. Gruen's concept spawned hundreds and thousands of similar, nearly identical iterations of the enclosed shopping mall over the coming decades. Back in Middletown, Ohio, by the 1970s, the shift to suburban shopping was in full swing. This was made evident locally by the failure to bring a brand new enclosed shopping mall to the downtown Middletown area. The city had purchased the locations of Freeman Jewelry and Welfare Finance, which they had planned to raise in an effort to bring a construction project to said location, which would host a gigantic enclosed mall. In 1972, an enclosed mall called the City Center Mart was announced to be built on Central Avenue. By 1974, the inner city mall was well under construction, but faced with tons of scrutiny. The area was spotted with abandoned buildings and construction equipment with nothing to do, and to make matters even worse, the 3 department stores that would have served as the mall's anchors, Mabley & Carew, JCPenney, and Middletown-based The Central Store, they all shuttered around the time construction for the downtown mall began. Despite having no senior anchor tenants, the City Center Mart had its grand opening in November of 1975. As City Center Mart opened, the downtown McAlpins, which opened in 1951 after the Mercantile and Fair Store Company merger, was in the midst of a liquidation sale and had shuttered just months after the new downtown mall opened. It was made pretty clear that downtown shopping was out. And in a desperate attempt to drive new traffic to the downtown mall in the early 1980s, after I'm sure what were countless days, weeks, and months of intense focus group testing and priceless market research, they changed the name and signage for the place from City Center Mart to the City Center Mall. This didn't do anything, and the mall was a complete ghost town through the 90s, and it was demolished in 2001. But again, the shift to the suburbs had been going on for decades by the time the City Center Mall was torn down. And even by the day it celebrated its grand opening in 1975, the Jacobs brothers had already built 14 malls and were gearing up for their 15th installment just 4 miles away from the downtown area of Middletown, which effectively served as the undertaker for Middletown's urban stint in retail.
Can't take video.
Sorry?
You can do it, take that picture, but after that's it.
Okay. After the security guard told me to leave, I didn't make a scene. I just did what he told me to do, and I started walking out. And as you can see, all the stuff to my left right now, that's all closed. There really wasn't anything open inside this mall, except for I think the jewelry store and maybe a nail salon when I first saw it back in 2018. But this was my first trip out to Cincinnati, and there was a ton of other stuff for me to see. So I went out, got in my car, the Quartermaster, back when I had my Infiniti, and I drove to a Skyline Chili to try it out for myself. I'm afraid it didn't score so hot. The Skyline Chili scored a 3.5. You'll see that in a second. And then we'll jump to the 2021 footage. Okay. So back in 2018, when I first visited the Towne Mall Galleria, I got essentially kicked out. They didn't kick me out, but the guy saw me and he followed me and he said, "Oh, you can't film here," and he was pretty much shot. So that was that. I got the footage that I got, and that's the footage that you've seen. Now it's 2021, and I'm back. And I went in there, and there was this little old guard that was standing right in the middle of the mall, right under the big skylight. And he was just watching. And he started walking towards me because somebody else was leaving, and I think he was walking them out. Now, to be fair, when I got there, in the footage that you just saw, it was pretty much the mall was closed. It was like 7 o'clock and they were closing, and you know, the guy wanted to lock up. He saw me filming after he followed me for a bit, and he said, "You can't film." I said, "Can I just take a lap and hit the bathroom?" And he said, "Yeah, sure, fine." And then I was leaving, I asked if I could just take a picture, and he said, "Just one picture." So I took a picture. This is the picture that I took right now. But there's just something about this mall, about the security guard, the fact that he's wearing a body cam, the fact that the mall is so tiny and that he's watching over this place. And not to mention, he told me, I said, "What's the plan for this mall? What are you guys going to do for this mall?" And he said, "Well, in a couple of months, they're tearing it down and they're going to redevelop it." So they're 2 months away from demolishing the entire place. And this guy is watching this thing like a hawk. He's an older guy. And he's spending his twilight years. I guess he's old. I don't know. He's white hair. He looks older. So I couldn't leave it alone. And I went in there the first time with my hair up in a clip, beard on display. I had a t-shirt on, my boots. I had all my bracelets and everything on, and my glasses. So this time, I took all that stuff off. I'm going to switch out my glasses for my sunglasses. And I'm also going to put a mask on, even though I'm fully vaccinated. Yeah, I get it. And nobody requires masks. I'm going to put it on just to try and hide my beard a little bit and try and get over there. So hopefully the next time you see me will be in the mirror of the bathroom at this mall. It might be walking at another angle. I don't know. But my plan here is to walk directly to the bathroom, go from the bathroom to the other parts of the concourse, hopefully see the center, get the last remaining footage, walk out, and then take a look at some of the outside. That's the plan. I don't know if it's going to work because when last time, as I was leaving, I didn't say anything to this guy other than, you know, a couple of like, "What's happening to this mall? Like, what's going on?" When I left, he saw me in my car in Nightwing, and he said, "Have a good night, Sal." Never told him my name was Sal. So I'm parked here at another parking lot in front of the Aspen Dental, and the mall is actually over there. So I parked over here in an effort to conceal my car. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't know. This is sketchy. This might be one of the sketchiest ones I've done yet. One of the sketchiest re-entries back into a mall. So we'll see what happens. Wish me luck. This is so sketchy. So sketchy. There's the mall. As you just saw, it's now 2021 in the footage you're currently watching, and the shake weight cam is thankfully gone. Wish me luck. As we trepidatiously make our way into the Towne Mall concourses for a second day attempt at filming without the security guard breaking balls, let's pick up where we left off in the timeline of events leading to the eventual building of this fantastic mall. We left off with the demolition of the city center mall, but while that mall enjoyed an 80 to 90% occupancy for its first couple years in 1975 and 76, servicing its locals, it was doomed the minute it came into this world. By 1974, as the downtown McAlpins was liquidating its inventory, a new location was under construction just 4 miles away, which celebrated its grand opening on February 16, 1975. It was at this time that the Jacobs brothers announced that a brand new mall of their own was to be built on that same 61-acre tract of land to accompany the McAlpins. This would be Jacobs Visconsi Jacobs' 15th mall in their portfolio, which by then had spanned 8 states. As the superstructure for the mall was nearing completion in the summer of 1976, on June 9, an article in the Cincinnati Post released an artist's rendering of what the interior of the new Jacobs Mall would look like, along with an announcement that 2 new senior anchors would be joining the McAlpins at this new Middletown Mall project. First was Elder Bierman, which would be converting its existing downtown location into a budget store to relocate to a new flagship operation at the brand new store at Jacobs' new mall project in Middletown. Charles M. Waldron, executive vice president for Elder Bierman at the time, told the press that their new store would encompass 117,500 square feet of the mall across 11 acres. The structure would be made of brick, featuring a dome glass exterior entrance. The second anchor announcement was for Sears, which would also see the closure of its downtown location at 25 East Main Street, which had been in operation since 1937. The new Sears flagship store in Middletown would span 72,000 square feet across 7 acres at the Jacobs Mall. Along with the 3 anchor spaces, the new mall was scheduled to house 57 inline tenants with stores, services, and refreshments for its shoppers. As construction was underway inside the new mall's concourses by September 27 of 1976, a new classified ad popped up in the Cincinnati Enquirer seeking a construction tenant coordinator. McAlpin's remained open during construction for the new mall, and it gave prospective shoppers glimpses and glimmers of what would soon be their new shrine to commerce. The entire project took over 1 year to complete and was simply named Towne Mall, celebrating its grand opening and ribbon-cutting ceremony on Wednesday, February 9, 1977. By the time Towne Mall opened, Jacobs Visconsi Jacobs had been known for their stellar performance in bringing successful malls into the cultural zeitgeist of the American society revolving around retail. The day Towne Mall opened, an article was published in the Dayton Daily News that profiled Jacobs' commitment to quality, also bringing to light a survey that had been conducted that year by Shopping Center World of national tenants across the country who were asked to name, in their opinion, the most successful retail developer in the United States. Among dozens of names in the survey, the only firm that popped up the most with endless praise was Jacobs, Visconsi & Jacobs. Jacobs believed that nature should be brought into all of their malls with the use of live plants and foliage, and they also had a drive to beautify the surrounding environment to their malls with proper landscaping. Among their notable aesthetic touches were well-appointed community rooms, carpeted lounges with comfortable furniture, assorted artwork, terrazzo and mosaic tile work, and creative architectural innovations, such as the amazing ceiling work in their malls. Jacobs also became known for their epic structures and fountains, which they would commission specifically and individually for each of their malls' unique personas. No sculpture or piece of artwork was copied or replicated in other malls built by Jacobs. Towne Mall was no exception, and it would have 3 of America's most renowned sculptors at the helm: C.E. Van Duzer, Joseph Anthony McDonnell, and Norman Poirier. The Towne Mall would thrive through the 1980s, and by the 90s, the Great Mall Experiment in the United States would reach its peak, with nearly 2,000 malls having been constructed across the country by 1995, and only a small handful being built in the years to follow. During this time, we saw gigantic company mergers ahead of Y2K. Smaller department stores were also in the middle of their own mergers, among which was yet another mercantile stores merger that would directly affect the Middletown, Ohio market. Just as the Knott store closure brought a McAlpin's to the downtown Middletown area and ultimately to the Towne Mall, mercantile stores would be acquired in May of 1998 by the Little Rock, Arkansas-based Dillard's Company for $2.9 billion. This merger would see McAlpin's converted across the country, including the Towne Mall location, which saw its own McAlpin's converted to a Dillard's masthead 3 months later in August of 1998. As what would be the Towne Mall's final act of the 1900s, a major storm came rolling through the region in June of 1999, resulting in the near total collapse of the roof for the Elder Bierman department store. 2 employees were harmed during the event, and the store would close for weeks to undergo renovations. Then, as the world girded its loins to step into the new millennium, the Towne Mall was still at a pretty healthy occupancy with all of its anchors intact, but it did have the scars to show for its years in service to its local community. The Towne Mall would finally change hands for the first time on February 4, 2001, when Chattanooga, Tennessee-based CBL & Associates completed the massive acquisition of the Jacobs Mall portfolio for $1.301 billion. 2 years after the acquisition, CBL would sign a lease at the Towne Mall with Dunham Sports, who came in as a junior anchor despite having a larger footprint in even larger malls at the time. Elder Bierman had some trouble with the weather again in 2005, when yet another nasty storm rolled through the area, causing another roof collapse for the poor old department store. This time, though, nobody was hurt. The store would close yet again as construction crews tore down part of the building that was affected by the collapse, with repairs to the structure being completed nearly 1 month later. By 2007, CBL and Associates were looking to revive the now struggling Towne Mall with a $26 million redevelopment project that would turn the property into an outdoor lifestyle attraction with a mixed retail offering. At the time, they called the mall, quote, outdated and in a state of decline, close quote, with an occupancy rate in the 50 to 55% range. And the downtrodden state of the mall was even cited in the Middletown City Master Plan. Then CBL property manager Gavin Thomas said, quote, we feel that Towne Mall is at an unfair disadvantage right now. You have to break it to change it because we'll run out of time, close quote. They did run out of time, and ultimately the project failed entirely. By 2008, Dillard's had shuttered their store at Towne Mall due to dwindling traffic and sales. Into the 2010s, CBL was looking to unload some of their non-core properties, of which the Towne Mall was included. They put the mall up for sale in 2012 and found a buyer that year when S.A. Mary, Ohio, run by George Regeb, purchased the mall for $3.3 million. The next year, in 2013, Middletown auditors had assessed the Towne Mall at a value of $9.48 million. George got one hell of a deal, but he was about to put the work in to prove it. In 1 year alone, he signed 11 new tenants and even took some inspiration from what the city center mall went through in the early 1980s to drum up some new business. Mr. Regeb overhauled the name and signage for the mall from Towne Mall to Towne Mall Galleria. He even promised that his own company, Dunham Sports, would soon move into the empty Dillard space, which kept the interest of his few remaining inline tenants. The Dunham Sports never filled that empty Dillard space, and actually shuttered their operation inside the Towne Mall Galleria on January 15, 2013. Then, on Friday, March 7, 2014, the Towne Mall Galleria would house more people in its concourses and courtyards than it's ever seen, when a bunch of companies joined forces to host a job fair, which saw 300 people in attendance to look for jobs at a dead mall for companies that had no businesses open at said dead mall. This brought no meaningful traffic or money to Towne Mall Galleria, and the event only served to illustrate to its local residents just how dead it was in there, with all 300 probably never coming back.
Oh, greetings to all yins beautiful bitches, and by the way, that son of a bitch Sal sent me out to that stupid job fair when we first met, telling me I had to start pulling my weight around his house or whatever, because I guess my cooking ain't no good and he doesn't like my vodka sauce and meatballs or goods no more, that silly rat bastard. I love him. Yeah, I got a job. They stuck me in this effing goddamn stupid mall PA system and told me I couldn't leave until they were good and goddamn ready. Whatever. At least they didn't make me a security guard with a body camera to film these people taking pictures of the place. What a life that is. Anyway, I love all you so much, buddies, and I gotta go. I can't wait to finish this Cincinnati tour at the next episode on the internet at the Upper Valley Mall with Kristen and Ron Unicom. So I'm gonna go take a shit break and smoke and call that lady back so she can cry to me some more on the phone 900 number, whatever it is. So she's the love of my life. Oh my God, I gotta go. Bye!
Okay. I think we can call that successful. I got tons of footage in there just now. The guard, I did see it was a different guard. It sounded like a different guard. But, God, that's such a great mall. And I just wanted to throw this out there, that this is the kind of BS that goes on when people like me are making
tasteful movies, tasteful films, tasteful edits, videos, creations, content, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I guess if, somebody's a bad actor or, has malicious intent, sure, I get that. But for somebody making well thought out, smart videos that just cover travel and history of a place, I don't see anything wrong with that. Shouldn't have to go in disguise. Shouldn't need costumes to film these places, especially now that the mall cops have body cams.
As a sign of positive momentum, the vacant Dillard space was filled when Mr. Regeb split it in half to accommodate a new Burlington coat factory, which moved in around March of 2015, and the other half went to a Gabe's discount fashion store, opening on October 10 that same year. But 1 year later, on Wednesday, November 2, 2016, Elder Bierman announced that they'd be shuttering their Towne Mall location, which closed in January of 2017. But in the same breath, a brand new Planet Fitness opened its doors at the mall, signing a 20-year lease for their space. By September of the same year, Sears shuttered their location at the mall. But Mr. Regeb was in the process of pumping about $4 million into this mall with the opening of these stores, and he also planned for new out-parcel spaces with a Buffalo Wild Wings, Aspen Dental Office, Sports Clips, and a GNC, which all opened in the strip center directly in front of the mall shortly after the Elder Bierman conversion and Sears closure. By 2018, I showed up to Cincinnati for the first time and drove about 20 minutes north from my hotel near the Forest Fair Mall to see the Towne Mall Galleria. When I showed up, security had already been programmed into sentry mode, looking for anyone taking photos of this place. And in 2019, we all know what went down and I'm over it. But the mall would eventually open for some reason. The mall finally hemorrhaged out its lingering inline tenants ahead of my return in 2021, with only the Burlington and Gabe's open with their exterior access next to the Outparcel Strip Center. The following year, Middletown City Council unanimously approved a $1 million buyout agreement for the mall, but Mr. Regeb would fight back, understandably so. He argued that the property was worth far much more than what it was assessed for than the $1 million, given its redevelopment value, and he would battle the city over the course of 2 years. Finally, the two parties would come to an agreement, and the city of Middletown successfully purchased the Towne Mall and its anchors and outparcels on June 25, 2024 for $10 million. While city officials called the land that the Towne Mall Galleria sits on a, quote, critical gateway to the city, close quote, they chose to move their ambitious Renaissance Point Event Center project not too far up the street, saying that it would have cost too much money to get the Towne Mall acreage pad ready and built out with the proper infrastructure to host the now under construction center. As of 2024, when I published this video, there's no new tangible redevelopment project slated for this mall, and it currently sits abandoned, awaiting further orders. I'd like to thank all of you for watching my video. The Towne Mall Galleria is another example of a failed mall picked up by an ambitious developer who did have the right idea on how to turn it around. George Regeb did one hell of a job trying to make this place better, but between anchor tenants leaving, a mass exodus of inline tenants, and a pandemic, he really couldn't pull out of that downward spiral. If any of you locals out there hear news or anything of what might happen to this mall, or if anything actually does kick off, please shoot me a message either down in my comment section or preferably on my Discord server, home of DMod. To join the Discord server, just point your browser to discord.gg/dmod. You'll answer a couple of questions from a moderator and they'll get you your roles so you can see the whole server. You can also find me on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter at Salvatore Amadeo, along with my two Facebook pages. The first one is Quite Studios, and the second one is the Dead Mall Archives. Links for everything are down below in my video descriptions. I'd also like to send a special thanks once again to all of my patrons and elite explorers that have donated super chats and channel subs over the years. Your support really does mean the world to me, and I've got so much more to produce for all of you. Please stay tuned. I'll be back soon with ExLog 124 as the finale in the 2018-2021 Cincinnati tour and the final episode in ExLog Phase 7. I really can't wait to show you that one. It's going to cover my exploration through the abandoned Upper Valley Mall with Kristen and Ron from Unicom Productions. Make sure you go give those two a sub. They're incredible, and they make fantastic content. But until ExLog 124, please stay safe out there, everyone. Have a good time all the time. Take care of yourselves, and have a fantastic day.
It's coming, and it's something we'll experience only once in a lifetime. Into this tiny box, we'll diligently pack delicate fragments of our mere existence. We'll make a time capsule, and it'll tell the world 100 years from now who we were and what Cincinnati was. We're looking at the year 2088. Join us live Monday when we send our light 100 years into the future.
Congratulations, Johnny Bench, baseball's newest Hall of Famer.
Oh, you are such an animal, dirty girl. You made me do those things in front of Sal. I'm never taking you out for dinner again.
What makes people all over America break down and cry like this? Call 1-900-9099-CRY and hear it for yourself. $2 for the first minute, 45 cents each additional minute. If you're under 18, ask your parents before you call.